Hi, I'm astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to another Astrobite. Now, the Astrobite for today, which the energy is already or has already been building since the weekend and will really be in effect for the next few days, all through the new moon, which we have on the 24th, 25th, depending where you are on the planet. And what I'm going to talk to you about is the Mars-Venus square. So, why is this important? Well, first of all, Mars is also conjunct the South Node, which is karma. Well, it's a little bit more complex than that, but in certain ways it's about karma. Now, what I'm going to do is go through what these planets represent, what they are like when they are having a little get-together and a discussion, and what that South Node is bringing in, bearing in mind this means they are actually in opposition to the North Node in Pisces. So let's start with Venus, because Venus, our planet of love and relationship, our planet of value, of finances and economy, but very much about our confidence, how we feel about ourselves. Do we feel powerful? Do we feel really in our feminine energy? And it doesn't matter whether you are male, female, or whatever. We all have feminine energy, we all have masculine energy, and all the shades and colors in between. Now, Venus is currently in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign and flexible. So not the most comfortable place for Venus, who is more comfortable at home in her home sign of Taurus, which is earth and fixed, and she is an earthy goddess. She's also, of course, the ruler of Libra, and Libra, of course, is cardinal. It's air, so we've got a little bit of that air energy coming in, and Libra, though, of course, is much more directive because it's cardinal. So when Venus is in Libra, she can really make her point. Now, what's happening is she's in Gemini. Now, Gemini, as we know, is about communication. It's about thinking. It's about thought. It's about ideas. Venus in Gemini is probably a little bit flirtatious and maybe even a little bit mischievous. After all, Mercury is the ruler, and Mercury is very mercurial and mischievous. And Mercury, of course, currently is retrograde in Leo. So what do we make of all these energies? Because both Venus, of course, is squaring, which is a tough, challenging aspect, Mars, the masculine, the divine masculine, our sexuality, our physical body, our assertion and sometimes aggression. He is the god of war. He fights for what he believes in. He's in Virgo. Again, this is really super interesting because Mercury, which I was just talking about, our planet of communication, retrograde in Leo, rules Virgo. So we've got both Venus and Mars in signs that are ruled by Mercury. So this, for me, underlines the feeling they need to have a discussion about something. So in your close relationships, friendships, especially if it's with a significant other, and mostly probably somebody from the opposite sex, what needs to be discussed? What has come back to maybe haunt you, or to be addressed, or to be looked at, that has not yet been fully identified and dealt with? Because Mars conjunct the South Node is bringing something back. Mercury is saying, hey guys, Venus, Mars, have a chat. Even though Mercury is not making an exact aspect to either of them. He is kind of in between them. So there is that energy there. And the sun, of course, that rules Leo has just moved into Leo. So we have this fiery fixed energy. Well, of course, Mars likes fire, not so keen on fixed energy. And so what do they want to say, and what might be re-emerging or resurfacing in your life at this time? Because Mercury retrograde also, of course, is bringing things back to be looked at, to be addressed, to be explored, to be investigated. And Mars conjunct the South Node, which means, of course, they are both squaring Venus, is saying, what or whom is returning into your life to be addressed and looked at? Now, only you can know the answer to that. If we look at the other energies of this chart, this point in time, when they are actually exactly in a square with each other, the sun, newly arrived in Leo, our star, our planet, our heart, the center of our solar system, is sextiling, which is helpful, Uranus. However challenging in Gemini, however challenging, whatever might come up at this moment, my feeling is there are unexpected developments going on behind the scenes, which will bring about ultimately a good resolution to whatever it is that is unfolding. The sun is also, of course, trining Saturn and Neptune. It is approaching a trine. It's not exact yet. So it's approaching a trine to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, both retrograde. So gradually, these energies are being drawn in, being drawn together for the new moon that is later this week, 24th, 25th. And the new moon, of course, is in Leo. Now, the new moon, remember, is opposite Pluto. And the sun is coming up at this moment to be opposite Pluto. The moon in Cancer has just moved past a conjunction with Jupiter, which she does every month. And it's such a momentary effect. And it may be felt in the day as a sense of, in this instance, because they're both in Cancer, a sense of well-being, a sense of being comfortable at home, a sense of feeling very fortunate and positive about the way things are going. So the other aspect that is going on is this Pluto sextiling Saturn and Neptune. Now, all these three planets are retrograde. And in spite of this angle, this harsh aspect from Mars to Venus, we've got these wonderful energies supporting them. The sun sextile Uranus, good surprises, good unexpected developments. Pluto sextile the Saturn and Neptune. So that whatever is unfolding, ultimately I feel needs to be contained, needs to be held like in a holding pattern for a while, until it is time to bring this into our conscious awareness. Now, I say that because these planets, both Uranus to Saturn and Neptune, so Uranus in Gemini to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and today Uranus is sextiling the sun. I'm recording this on the 22nd, but the chart I'm looking at is for the 23rd. And then you've got Saturn and Neptune being sextiled by Pluto. Pluto is opposite the Sun. What you've got is like, the aspects look like a basket. Some astrologers call it a basket or a cradle. Well, I think that's really rather interesting, because a cradle takes care, contains that which is growing and developing, a baby. And sometimes the plans and the dreams that we have, it is not yet ready for them to come into the light, into our conscious awareness. And a basket, we carry something of value in a basket. And the square from Mars to Venus, I think, is saying, heal the wounds in any relationships that have been festering away underneath, because they serve no one. So let me just have a look at the rest of my notes while I have looked at the chart. So yes, so Venus squaring Mars conjunct the South Node in Virgo is complex, because it brings into our consciousness that tension between love or romantic love and desire and sexuality. And, you know, isn't this in some ways very appropriate for the difference between masculine and feminine love, where women, on the whole, as a generalization, think about the romantic side and energy of love, while men are thinking about the procreation and the sexuality, because that's how they express their feelings, through actions. Whereas Venus in Gemini wants to express her feelings through words. So let's have a think. So, as I say, Venus in Gemini is playful, flirtatious, but she wants mental stimulation. She wants good conversation from the other, whoever the other is. And she shows her feelings through her words, through her ideas. That is the best way for her in Gemini to show how she feels. However, there's a downside to Venus in Gemini, which is she can appear a little emotionally detached and maybe avoiding commitment, at least at the moment. Maybe not till she moves into Leo, when she will feel far more confident about making a commitment. Now, what about Mars conjunct the South Node? Well, we know that Mars governs desire, sexuality, willpower, conflict, assertion, aggression. In Virgo, because Virgo is so analytical and pedantic, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, because we need you, Virgo. We need people who will keep the books and keep us on track. But so Mars in Virgo does get precise and analytical, also service-oriented, but also anxious and potentially critical. And because Mars in Virgo will want to get it right, so this is the man in your life who's trying to get things right and trying so hard, somehow he gets it wrong. He overdoes it. And we just think, oh, don't try, stop trying. You know, I'm here, aren't I? You don't have to keep proving to me why I need to be here. And he will be, in a sense, subjugating the raw feelings that he has to get it right. Now, conjunct the South Node, we're inclined to see the karmic patterns that we're dealing with are around perfectionism, being hypercritical, and perhaps repressing desire in a need to be liked. And maybe this represents we've had struggles in the past in relationships around anger, control, or service to the other. And maybe that is a hangover from a past life or past lives. So that Mars conjunct the South Node can tend to act from a position of anxiety about getting things right, rather than staying true to the core of his heart and his passion. The shadow side is this desperate need of the masculine, of Mars in Virgo, to feel he has to earn love, earn your respect, earn your friendship, trying to show how useful he is, or how good he is, how correct he is in everything he does. Venus in Gemini says, getting a bit bored, need a bit of passion. That's how Venus in Gemini feels, hence the clash of the square. So Venus, basically in this square, wants to play, wants to just go with the flow. Mars in Virgo, the masculine, is saying, let's be precise. Let's decide, are we going to have this baby or not? This can be a metaphorical baby as well. This could be the birth of a business or something you're trying to do together. But Venus at this point is saying, can we just see what ideas come up? Can we just go with the flow a bit? So Venus is looking for this, everything to keep everything a little bit frivolous and light. Mars and the South Node is just trying to overfunction, get it right in too sort of much a way, and probably getting into criticism and a lot of self-criticism. You see, Venus wants to open her heart to the romance. Mars, with the South Node in Virgo, is suppressing that desire because he wants to be perfect. And I suppose that what happens is, as Venus, the Venus part, the feminine in us, tries to think, okay, well, let's just explore this a bit with the Virgo side, the Mars side in Virgo. Virgo is just going, oh, I've just got to really sharpen up, tighten my grip, because I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to let this fish through the net. And Venus is thinking, dear God, just chuck me back in the sea. I don't think I can take this. Now, what's interesting is that this might be a pattern that has constantly played out in your life, where sometimes we choose the wrong partner and we choose someone who we think maybe we can change in some way. You know that doesn't work. We can't change anyone. It just doesn't work. We usually, all of us, find out the hard way. We try to be the therapist, the friend, the person who understands more than anyone in the world. And we exhaust ourselves because just no one can be changed. They can only change, as you know, if they want to. So there's a need here of finding out how one can earn love through effort or sacrifice. And really asking us to look at whether we are choosing safety over true connection, whether we're trying to control that intimacy and speak from the mind rather than from the heart. Because Venus in Gemini is really going to be caught up in her overthinking. So what's the shadow side of this aspect? And how can we grow through it or find healing potential through it? Well, one of the shadow sides might be that we get into people pleasing. That'll be the Mars in Virgo. Venus in Gemini will a bit, but you'll get bored very quickly. So what we have to do is actually realize that that Venus in Gemini is about us valuing ourselves, that we can have good self-esteem. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be totally independent. We can actually join with another, but still retain our state of separateness within the relationship. Sometimes what happens with this energy is we do attract, or we do get attracted to, partners who are unavailable for whatever reason. And I think what we have to do is look at how we look into ourselves, which is really that South Node in Virgo, and look at why we tend to choose unavailable partners. Because is it actually that we are avoiding intimacy and connection? So that as much as we might say we want a true, good, traditional relationship, actually there's another bit of us saying, whoa, no thanks, don't want that, can't cope with that. This energy can also make us cynical and critical, especially in relationship. This is where we have to stay with our authenticity, be true to what we know, show our vulnerability, and explore and just take some risks. Don't get caught with this energy into overanalyzing your emotions, whatever the situation, be it a business relationship, a friendship relationship, a close one-to-one relationship, sibling relationship, family relationship. Don't overanalyze what's going on. You know what? These things happen and the other person goes away and we might dwell on what's been said. The other person is probably doing something else and completely gone away from thinking about it. Just accept the differences, accept one's imperfections, and search for that emotional truth. Try to avoid the repetition of karmic roles. You will know what you do. Are you a rescuer? Are you a people pleaser? Are you a savior? Are you a martyr? Are you a victim? And really take a good, long, hard look in the mirror. Have some conscious communication with yourself and let that stuff go. Because this is an opportunity, this aspect, to look at our relationship with desire and love. To, let go of all the outdated scripts where we've constantly tried to prove ourselves or be liked, to receive the affection and the attention that we want. Just have faith that those that really love you and value you, you don't have to try and be anything for them. Just be you, because that's what they first were attracted to, you. Don't change to be what you think they might want you to be. Be you. And that way, actually, you can really learn an awful lot from this particular aspect. So remember, that's Venus in Gemini, square Mars in Virgo, that is conjunct the South Node. And before I finish on that and go on for our 2 words for the day, remember they're both opposite the North Node in Pisces. The North Node is where we are going, where we are headed towards, our destiny. What it's saying is, have faith that you can learn these lessons, that you can change. If you want to change, you can. That's the beauty of understanding your natal astrological chart. Because once we understand where we are getting caught unconsciously in working with certain aspects in our chart that don't serve us well, we can think, if I'm mindful, I can make sure I don't make these mistakes again. I can choose to do things differently. And the cosmos will celebrate your success. Now, the words I chose for today are love and desire, because I thought love and desire cover a whole myriad of feelings, from, tender, passionate feelings to that soulful, aching, breaking heart. Sound like I'm going to break into song. I would, but then I'd get slapped on with copyright, so I won't. So first of all, here are 3 quotes about love and longing. Emily Bronte said, "Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." And that's a bit like when we really do feel we have met our soulmate, or as some people call it, the twin flame. I think we have a lot of soulmates. My understanding of life before life, life when we're in spirit, life when we leave this life, is that we are part of a huge soul group. We are part of a huge soul energy. And we meet many aspects of that soul group when we incarnate in the various lives we have on this planet, or maybe other planets. And my feeling is that, and this is difficult, and this is tough, and this is a karmic thing, is that often we know someone, we meet someone, we know somehow we are connected, they are a soul flame or a soul mate. But it doesn't mean we're supposed to be with them forever. We are perhaps meant to cross paths, reconnect and learn something from each other, and go and learn something different from other people, members of our soul group or members of other soul groups. And I think that is something that gets sadly misinterpreted, because we have been brought up in recent years on, you meet your soulmate and you're together and that's it for life. And in my experience, and I don't know, and some people are lucky enough to meet and be and spend their life with a soulmate, but I've met probably 2 or 3 male soulmates, none of whom I've had long relationships with. One I've had a very long relationship with, but not in the way I would have liked it to have been when I was younger. Now I see why it is the way it is. And that's the beauty of being able to look back, being able to karmically look back down the path. And, we also remember have soulmates of the same sex. And we forget that sometimes. You connect with a same-sex person And you just know, you know stuff together. You've been in past lives together. And that is quite amazing. So I think we have to get over this thing about thinking that we're meant to be with a soulmate. I think we are meant to be with the person or persons in our life, in our lifetime, that we learn something from in this life, be it positive, challenging. You might not stay with that person, but if you embrace it, you will learn from it and you will grow from it. Gabriel Garcia Marquez said, I have waited for this opportunity for more than half a century to repeat to you once again my vow of eternal fidelity and everlasting love. And that's from, I don't know if this is a poem or a play or a novel. It's called Love in the Time of Cholera. But that's beautiful, and that's really, in a sense, the same thing about this longing for the soulmate and actually showing that we're not always together. Now, here's an interesting quote from an unknown person, which is, you are the one I wasn't looking for when I found you. And that is the funny thing about life. Often at the end of the day, the person perhaps we spend our senior years with in a meaningful way is somebody so different from whom we thought we would be with or whom we wanted to be with. And yet, the music of that relationship is quite beautiful. Now, what about desire and passion? Well, Kahil, good old Kahil Gibran said, desire is half of life. Indifference is half of death. And that's terrible. And I think we've all been in situations, be it relationships, friendships, where you become aware that the other is just actually indifferent towards you. And that's the most, I think, hollow feeling to be on the receiving end of. And I guess we do it to others too. Pablo Neruda said, I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. That's beautiful. Oh, I miss spring cherry trees and beautiful spring flowers. Margaret Mitchell in Gone with the Wind said, her lips on his could tell him better than all her stumbling words. That's beautiful. And that's where the body takes over, doesn't it? The lips speak in a different way. And here's 3 quotes to finish up with about soulful, poetic yearning. An unknown one is, I crave a love so deep, the ocean would be jealous. Oh, I like that. Now, Atticus said, he touched her soul long before. He touched her skin. You know, this reminds me of a time when I met a significant soul connection, soulmate. And we'd never met before. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and we knew of each other. And even before we met, we both had a feeling that this was going to be a meaningful connection. And that quote, he touched her soul long before he touched her skin, expresses perfectly what me and that person experienced. And gosh, I learned a lot from that connection. Finally, E. Cummings said, "You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars." What a beautiful quote to end this Astrobite on. And I'd like to say thank you so much for joining me for this Astrobite. And we are heading towards the new moon in Leo. And that is a very powerful one. If you've not checked out my video for the new moon in Leo, it's on my channel. And remember, the wonderful Jerry has time-stamped all your individual zodiac signs so you can find out how this new moon in Leo is going to affect you. And in the meantime, I will be back very soon. And what else do I want to say? Oh yes, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And thank you to anyone who has recently subscribed and joined our growing community. It's really good to have you here. And remember, if you would like to have a one-to-one session with me, check out my website, pennydix.com, and sign up for the newsletter, which comes about every 6 months. I'm not very good at doing those. I suddenly get inspiration. I think, I am going to write a newsletter, which I did about 2 weeks ago. And so all of you were bombarded by a newsletter, which you had no idea you were ever going to get. So yes, if you want to have a one-to-one with me, do check out the website and email me. No booking system. You just email me at penny@pennydix.com and we talk. And we find a time that suits both our time zones. And it would be really great to meet you. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing, or night, or morning. And I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. Bye.